And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services and PACE Professional Association for Customer Engagement. We're just starting to wrap up the Atlanta Conference, Day 2, and I have a chance to talk with PACE's General Counsel, Michele Shuster from MacMurray and Shuster in Columbus, Ohio. And Michele, good to see you. You led a very important seminar yesterday on the announcement of the ruling by the District Court in Washington about the appeal that PACE was involved with, been working on for a number of years. Tell us about, if you could recap, that would be terrific.
Sure. So the appeal decision that was released by the D.C. Circuit Court on March 16th of this year is an issue that PACE has been working on for many years. Initially, this journey started back in 2012 when PACE filed a petition for reconsideration of the FCC's rules that took away the existing business relationship exemption to the TCPA that allowed telephone calls without consent using an ATDS to those that businesses had an existing business relationship with. So that journey started back in 2012. Additionally, we filed petitions for declaratory ruling and expedited rulemaking in 2013. And then when the FCC released its declaratory ruling in 2015, we again filed and sought a petition for review. So this is an issue that has been very important to PACE, to our members. It is critical that legitimate businesses that are serving a very valuable service to consumers and to companies in all different forms, including marketing types of calls, but also informational calls and just the ability to communicate with their customers. This is just a really critical issue that we have been working with. The appeal primarily dealt with the definition of an automatic telephone dialing system, which is the type of system that is regulated for purposes of requiring consent to call cell phones. It also dealt with issues around reassigned numbers and also how a consumer can revoke their consent to be called. So all issues that we feel like were decided very favorably for PACE. We consider this a win and that our efforts have paid off. We were happy to see that the commissioners, the majority of the commissioners from the FCC were also supportive of the ruling by the D.C. Circuit Court, and I think it's going to lead to a much more reasoned approach towards regulation of contact centers in the space of calls to cell phones.
Very good, Michele. You and your team really worked very hard on that with PACE and other organizations to win that ruling. What are some of the next steps on that? I know there's work to be done, especially the robocall issue has been so serious. The amount of robocalls, unwanted calls that are being received by consumers. They've been also some of the remedies have had unintended consequences for businesses not being able to call their customers legitimately. What are some of the efforts being made on that?
So the scourge of robocalls is something that is negatively impacting not only consumers, but also businesses. It's made it really a hostile environment for companies to be involved in when trying to contact their consumers and potential customers. So PACE is completely aligned with the regulators and the consumer groups that are trying to put an end to the scourge of robocalling, illegal pre-recorded calls that are being made. The issue is that in our zeal to attempt to eliminate robocalls, we're affecting legitimate businesses that are trying to place telephone calls. And it's happening as a result of technology that is allowing telecom carriers, through their analytics companies, to either label or block telephone calls. The problem with the blocking is that currently there is no system that notifies either the consumer or the business whose calls are being blocked that those calls are being blocked. So there's no ability to mitigate blocking or labeling that should not be occurring to legitimate businesses. So PACE has convened the Call Protection Coalition and is in the process of working with several different industries, including the telecom carriers, consumer advocates, the regulators, to come up with a sensible approach to eliminating robocalls without hurting legitimate businesses or consumers. So we're hopeful to have a best practices and mitigation document that will be prepared by that multi-industry group within the next several months, and we're hopeful in working with the consumer advocates and the regulators that we'll be able to come up with a sensible approach.
Very good. Michele, you are such an articulate and hardworking representative of the contact center industry. We all thank you for your efforts. Just if you would, tell us a little bit about your firm out in Columbus, Ohio, MacMurray and Shuster.
Thank you for the opportunity to do that. Our law firm was started 11 years ago with 3 former consumer protection chiefs and a former attorney general. And we are a niche firm that practices almost exclusively in the consumer protection realm. We help companies comply with those regulations that we used to enforce when we were in the AG's office, and also assist with litigation if companies are involved in litigation in this space.
Very good, Michele Shuster. Great to see you here at the PACE Annual Conference in Atlanta. Thank you for all your efforts on behalf of the industry. This is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services and PACE, the Professional Association for Customer Engagement in Atlanta, Georgia.